Okay, let's continue with this question 9. Okay, this is a typical question in PSLE. So they will show you this height, right? Is the distance from the coin to the water level. So they are using water from 4 different rivers. The greater the number means the clearer the water. Because, for example, for the part R, right, you can see the coin at a height of 10 centimeters. Whereas for Q, you can only see the coin visible at 2 centimeters. So from here, we know that the water from part Q is most polluted. Okay, so now they ask you, based on Ahmad's finding, which part of the river was most likely contain the largest amount of soil, which was washed from a deforested area? So as I told you, right? So you can circle this, and that corresponds to Q. And then you need to give a reason. So you say that part Q of a river, since least amount of light would travel through the water sample collected from Q, it contains the most soil particle. Okay, so I will screen share and show you this part of the answer. Okay, here. So the answer is shown here, this part Q. Okay. Part Q of river, since least amount of light, okay, least amount of light could travel to the water sample, it means that it has a most soil particle, and it contains the most soil particle. Okay, then part B. Okay, they ask you state whether submerged water plants are most likely or least likely to survive in the part of the river named in Q. So the next question they ask you is this. Okay, state whether the submerged water plants are most likely, is it most likely or least likely to survive in part Q? Okay, of course is least likely, right? Because least amount of light can pass through. So that's the answer for this part. Okay. Submerged water plant would least likely to survive in part Q. Since the water in part Q allow the least amount of water, least amount of light to pass through, the submerged water plants are unable to carry out photosynthesis. Or they say least able to carry out photosynthesis. So that's why they are least likely able to survive. Okay, let's continue the next question. Coming back to the question here. Okay, now this is an interpretation of these 3 factories, P, Q, R. So P is here, you can see. Q is here, and R is here. Okay, next thing you need to take note is the direction of river flow. So water samples are collected from 5 locations, A, B, C, D, E, along the river and tested for mercury. Okay, mercury is a toxic substance that can harm the body. So you notice the maximum amount is at here, right? At D and at B. So look here. So where's the location? It's better to highlight with another different color. So this part has the most mercury pollution. So quite likely the mercury is from this factory or this culprit, right? Because the river is flowing this direction. And B can be from okay, this is this way down and this one this way down. So B1 you can see is same amount of that. So you make a analysis of this question. The question asks you, which factory is least likely to have discharged mercury into the river? Okay, look at the picture here. Least likely to discharge. So it's quite likely, least likely to be R, because there are 3, right? So this one confirmed cannot be this one, because this one already, we found that it's one of the culprit. So the B one, This one, the location B, quite likely is due to this, because the river flow this way, right? If I erase this part, I can see. It flow this way and down this way. So it passed by this factory. And then this one, the R, right? Okay, because C, can you see C is lesser, correct? Yeah. C, the amount of mercury is lesser. So that means this one is quite unlikely to dispose the dispose of mercury. So there is factory R. Okay, factory R. Okay. So the reason is this part. Factory R. Factory R is least likely to have discharged the mercury. Why? Because the mercury level in part C is lower than in part D. Okay? Part C lower than in part D. If you refer to the graph, you can see. Okay, this part. Part C is lower than part D. If factory R have discharged mercury, right? Because if you look at the map, if factory R have discharged mercury, right, then there should be more mercury in part C than D. So you must give this reasoning. Okay. So this reasoning is quite strong, right? This reasoning. Okay. Because you must say if factory R have discharged mercury, there should be more mercury in part C than D. But in the graph, it's different. Okay, C is lower than D. Okay, next question. Last one. Explain how mercury gets into the body of human, starting with the plankton. So you see this food chain here, right? Okay. The question is here. Explain how mercury gets into the body of humans, starting with the plankton. So this is a food chain. Plankton are the very small organism, okay? Because the plankton absorb the mercury in the river, and it's
Planktons
eaten,
act as a food source, right?
yeah, as a food source for the aquatic insects. Like the biggest animal in the world, which
Yeah,
is the blue whale, right?
yeah,
But they eat the smallest animal, the planktons.
true.
Yeah, true, right? They eat tons of planktons. So the reason is you mentioned this part. Okay. The planktons take in water contaminated. Okay, you must use the word contaminated with mercury. Okay. Because the mercury is not broken down by the organism in the food chain, it's transferred to the next organism and to the next until it reaches human. Okay. The mercury is transferred from one organism to the next. So from the aquatic insect, they go to the small fish, goes to the large fish, and then goes to the human. So this is the reason for this. So I'll do a screenshot of the answer for this A and B for your whole parts. Okay, so this is this section. I'll do a short recording of something else before I end the class. Okay, for students who are new to my One Academy, you can actually visit my One Academy Science YouTube channel. I wish that you can subscribe so that I can reach at least 900 subscriber by end of July and 1,000 subscriber by Singapore National Day SG60. And there's one interesting video which I captured recently that will actually enhance your learning of Sungai Buloh. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you click this video, I think it's under short, and there's this interesting short, which you click, there's 901 view. Let's examine this video.
Hmm.
So guess its length. Make a guess. How long is this crocodile?
9 meters.
No, 9 meters is too big.
11 foot. 2.5 meters.
Yeah, 2.5 something around that. It's 3.3 meters about that. And it's armored. And guess its weight.
200 kg.
It's more than that. It's
380.
380.
Yeah, why you promoting your channel? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very amazing crocodile.
No, why you taking every chance to promote your channel? Yeah.
Okay, you know what
Like
happened?
you're
Okay,
doing channel.
okay. Actually, that day when I was here, there's a group of students from Casuarina Primary School. They're having their learning journey here. So I believe they haven't seen such a big crocodile in the wild. I move up here and tell the teacher, please allow the children to see this majestic wild animal. And they were very happy and they moved quietly, not to frighten the crocodile, and they were amazed. So this is the expression. Wow, they are all amazed. And I hope that you will be amazed by my teaching in One Academy Science. Thank you.